Welcome back. I'm Josh Etheridge. This is Talk Fiber to Me, baby. Today we're at Metro Connect conference here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I've got Mr. Phillip Macres here from the Klein. I'll get it right.
You got it.
Phillip Macres with the Klein Law Group out of DC, correct?
That's correct.
So he's on the forefront. He has literally been on the forefront of RDOF for all broadband compliance. He really soup to nuts. I'm going to steal your phrase. Soup to nuts. You've been on the front of everything.
From the beginning to end there, with whether it be RDOF, whether it be ARPA funding, whether it be BEAD funding, whether it be USDA, been helping clients, whether it be the application process, the compliance process, and the issues with the application and trying to invoke change. So, for instance, we did the letter of credit issue. Remember, everybody started out with this back in the middle mile program. They had 30% letter of credit, 25% match. And I knew that was just asinine because, there's nobody in their right mind that's going to be able to come up at the time you sign the grant, have 50% of the money either sitting in the bank or sitting in the letter of credit. And they didn't realize, huge.
What did that do for little providers?
Most little providers, that's just a gating issue. They wouldn't be able to come up with it because it doesn't matter if we're looking at a $60 million build and we said, wait a second, we have to come up with $30 million at the time of signing the grant. And that's just too much. And if you're a bigger provider, it just adds some zeros there. So if you're a bigger provider, just say you won $500 million or $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right, you'd have to come up and you'd have to have $250 million in match and $250 million in the letter of credit and have that all cash up front. That's asinine. That's not how people do business. So we started raising an issue with that. We had our congressman send a letter. We wrote letters to other folks in Congress and then started raising this issue with even some of these panels and things like that. And then ultimately, after they made the announcement of the funding in June of 2023, I said, this is ridiculous because this program is only good for the big guys. It's not helpful for the small guys that can't afford the letter of credit because it just makes it really problematic. And so we were able to pull together a coalition, a huge one, and ultimately we got 300 people, entities signing a letter that went to NTIA, and that was in the beginning of September, and lo and behold, by November, they came out with the alternative to the letter of credit. So, and
we appreciate that.
Yeah,
I love it.
It's huge, but it's still asinine, guys. It is still asinine because this is basically a reimbursement program, a milestone program. It's a fixed grant award, and if you build it and you finish it, you get reimbursed. And so, why do you need a letter of credit? That's belt and suspenders, and an extra pair of suspenders, and an extra belt. It doesn't make any sense. Now, it made sense with RDOF because that was a cash stream that was done before the build was done. So they wanted a letter of credit because if you ran away from it after 33 years, you already had 36 months worth of payment in your pocket.
Yeah.
So they didn't want you to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But for BEAD, it was different. The folks in NTIA, a lot of them came from the FCC, and they just took that model from RDOF and just imposed it on BEAD when it wasn't really necessary. So that's an extra cost now to BEAD too.
You mentioned BEAD now, and I definitely want to get into that because you say you had that huge coalition that you had to basically frontline on that match issue. Now you're looking at our letter of credit issue. Now you're looking at this new challenge with BEAD, and basically take us through what you're having to do now. What maybe not you, but what a coalition needs to do now. Where are we with BEAD, and tell me what we need to do.
Okay, well, right now we're with BEAD. We have a change in administration. Okay, some people, good, bad, and the ugly, they don't want to accept the fact that there's going to be changes to the rules and the nature of the game. Okay, that's where we stand. The NTIA, to be honest with you, a lot of them that were hired are probably more slanted towards the support of Biden. Not to get too political, but it's a reality, guys. And they may not be willing to accept the changes that may be being put forth in new goals and objectives under the new administration. It's just a reality. Just have to realize that. In any event, we have a change, right? And some people don't want to recognize that. It's, hey, the emperor's not wearing any clothes. And I'm going to be the first one to say that, flag down, okay? It's going to change, right? So we're looking at applications that are being requested and timelines and deadlines based upon the old rules of the games. Old rules, old goals, old objectives. And now we're filing applications consistent with the old rules, but we know the rules are going to change going forward. So our applications my biggest concern is that applications, I got teams working on this stuff, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on applications, and it's stale on the day we file it because we know those rules are going to change, and they're probably going to open up the application process again, and we're going to have to amend the application. So that's a very big frustrating thing about
So
this.
it's extra cost for the guys trying to get it done. And these aren't big guys. Again, these aren't like,
yeah, we don't have money to be throwing around on these applications. We want to do it. We want to do it once. We want to do it the right way. Just tell us what the criteria is, but don't ignore the fact that the rules are going to be changing, but we're going to force you through this application process, thinking that it's not going to change, but we know it's going to change. I mean, yeah, if you watch
your heads out of the
if
sand.
you watch the confirmation hearing of Howard Lutnick, you know, he would not answer the question when he was asked if he's going to let Nevada go forward. He's like, can I make it better? He wants to make them all better, even the ones that got the nod from NTIA.
Senator Rosen, right?
Senator Rosen, that's it.
Asked, especially interested about Nevada, because it's already, where is it at in the Avalanche? It's already done, right? And then basically, are you going to honor those agreements? What was the answer?
He said, you know, it's okay if I make it better, right? If I make it better. He said it twice, you know, and you'd like me to do that. And so I understand where he's coming from. I mean, Nevada, kind of, it was painful to see that $77,000 of passing that got highlighted, that was reported on.
It's a good soundbite too. But to differentiate that, Louisiana, which is where I'm from, $5,300 a passing.
That's reasonable.
That's reasonable.
You know, but you know,
96% fiber.
I just, you know, my gut feeling tells me that that's not gonna survive.
You mean in every state?
Just
even 5,300. You think 5,300?
I don't think he's gonna let that number survive. But you know, that's just my own gut, personal. I don't not a firm position. This is just me.
Would they change if they were going to change things? If you're like, hey, what would you like to see? NTIA, really, Commerce Committee, Ariel as the new leader of NTIA. If you were to ask them, if you were to ask Senator Cruz, if you were to ask Howard Lutnick, what would be best? What's their compromise? What would you think the list would look like?
Okay, to make it easy, you know, the ARPA plan, the ARPA funds, capital projects, that came with a lot less baggage and headache. And if it was more like that, that would be better. Right now, if you do an application, there are questions on top of questions on top of questions. It's the most ridiculous, you know, SAT or college application you'd ever imagine. And they're just long and explain everything that you do from one set criteria to another. I understand they have to protect themselves, but it's overkill. Really, the application process is now just, you know, overwhelming. The aspects of the program that I would think that they need to fix is, you know, a design, make sure they confirm what they want for a priority program. Is it going to be fiber? Is it going to be anything else? Is it going to transition to coax? Is it going to transition to fixed wireless? How are we going to treat satellite? You know, tell me about what the high cost amount is. Don't tell me after the fact. I mean, if you're filing an application and you look at a grant area and you say, hey, you know, I can do this area, but it's going to be $30,000 a passing. Should I file the application or not? Or are they going to laugh in my face? Tell me up front that I shouldn't even waste my time, and I'll spend my time on another application area where I think I can get a lower cost per passing. But the whole thing is that no one's telling you. They're keeping the cards back and they're saying, oh, we want you to all apply and do it. That's fine, but it costs money to apply. And these aren't just small applications. These are huge applications, and I'm watching this happen. So, you know, just want this up front.
Do you think that if you eliminated maybe the low cost option, some of the permitting through NEPA requirements, the DEI requirements, that they eliminated some of that stuff, that we would spend less per passing, knowing that you could charge more per passing?
Yeah, it would be a lot more efficient on the processing relative to the applications and the back end as well. It's just frustrating. I mean, right now, applications are being submitted that have to answer DEI questions, workforce questions, extensive questions on this. And, you know, that's the unfortunate thing about it, because we know what the current administration's position on it is. And we know that this administration should be reflective of the NTIA, but NTIA is not hitting the pedal to them, hitting the stop, and not pausing this thing to recalibrate the program from an NTIA level and directing the states to do so. So they're just moving forward fast, quickly ahead, without recognizing the fact that there is change on the horizon, and they're going to have to make these big changes. And so,
when do you think this is coming? When do you think we'll know something?
We know Howard Lutnick. He got confirmed last week.
Yep.
You know, he may make a directive to say, hey, listen, This is conceivable things that could happen. He could make a directive saying, I want NTIA to pause the application process. I'm going to give the states a pause and toll the deadline, the 12-month deadline. That deadline, by the way, was an NTIA deadline that was established. And that's why the states are moving so quickly ahead, is because they have this 12-month deadline. Now, if they were told that they're not subject to that deadline and they're going to have some time to recalibrate, that's great. That's what we want them to do. So my concern is, if he does that, or we wait and we see, we have Ariel Roth. She needs to go through confirmation hearings. Assuming that she makes it through confirmation and she gets in her position, hopefully that her next step is to either hit a pause relative to the application process, and for the states to have more time. But the problem is, any application that's filed right now likely will have to be reopened and be amended or be revised to reflect the new goals and objectives.
What about the states that have already, Louisiana, but Delaware, Nevada, you got you got West Virginia that's right on the hills, you got other people that's ready to rock and roll. What about those people that's already spent that money? Do you think that they're going to allow any states to go through versus just some? Or
honestly, after I hearing the confirmation hearing, and Howard Lutnick was specifically asked that question, and he did not say he would let it go through. He said, I could make it better. I can make it better. He wants to make it better. So what he's saying is that the criteria you used, I'm going to change it and make it better. And so he may say that 77,000, that's too much. You have to go back to the drawing board. But he might not say that for all of them.
In other ones, he said, in that same hearing, he said, well, if they ran an efficient program, then they don't have anything to worry about. If they ran an efficient program and they ran it fairly,
right,
they don't have anything to worry about. Do you feel like he's talking about maybe Louisiana, maybe he's talking about Mississippi, Arkansas?
I think he is. He could be talking about Louisiana if he agrees with it, after he takes a look under the hood and he's comfortable with it.
I like that analogy.
That's fine. But you have this deployment aspect and non-deployment. Under the statute itself, you have certain aspects you can do, to the deploy. That puts the fiber in the ground, fixed wireless, if it's, upgrading coax, whatever you use, even perhaps satellite. And then you have non-deployment. Now, there is non-deployment initiatives, primarily adoption things. There's certain criteria that they've specified, but under the Biden administration, there's the fifth criteria, or the sixth criteria, whatever it is, whatever the assistant secretary deems is basically necessary. So he threw out a big net. It went kind of a little bit too broad relative to the perspective of this administration, the new administration. So they'll probably pull that back a bunch. So when you have the spending, it's between, real deployment and any non-deployment issues that's kind of maybe closer to what adoption requires, mapping and other things like that, to get people online. Prescriptive. It's not something that's going to be helping third world countries do something else because they just wanted to throw that out there. Makes you scratch your head going, hey, I thought we were spending it for this, and now people were, playing with the money and figuring out how can I get more non-deployment dollars versus deployment dollars, and making companies match higher amounts.
Well, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You mentioned earlier about different opportunities, but as far as technologies, do you think that we keep the fiber preference that we have right now in all states?
Yeah, I think fiber makes sense. It makes perfect sense. It has to be the right price. And I'm sorry about having to pick on the $77,000 issue, but
that really high.
That could be a log cabin. That could be out there in the mountains. And we have a lot of fiber going. They may not even want fiber out there, man. They're out there hunting.
Yeah.
I don't want to be bothered. And if I do it, I want to check my email for a few minutes a day and make sure, there's, nothing's crazy going on at home, And that's
that worth $77,000? I don't know.
I don't know how much that log cabin's worth. Man.
I don't know.
But I think that's where that's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, and that's staring us in the face right now. We heard what he had to say in the confirmation hearing.
Yeah.
So anybody says, hey, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Getting a lot of pushback. You talked about a coalition, and we're going to talk a little more about that. You're going to be on the show again, hopefully. We're going to get really into some weeds of, what about RDOF defaults? And in the next show, I'd love to get into RDOF defaults. What does that have to do with the BEAD application right now? Are we going to see more of them? We had that report come out just recently talking about how many RDOFs has been defaulted upon. Another thing is like this big explosion. We're here at Metro Connect right now. this big explosion around on the hyperscale building.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody's here for dark fiber. Like they're talking dark fiber. Are these guys going to jump in and maybe subsidize some of that long haul stuff that that BEAD applicants are going after?
All these data centers have to find a place somewhere, and all the real estate is out there in rural areas, and all this real estate that's out in rural areas, this is where we're building fiber.
Yeah.
So this is where you need it.
So it's a good supplement. Maybe we should start talking about some collaborations between some of these groups.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And from a federal scale, it just makes sense. It's just less money that the taxpayer has to come out.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
But let's roll it either way. Let's get it moving either way.
That's right. One thing that's disappointing out of all of this is NTIA made the announcement that the funding was going to, be released, and it was all good relative to Delaware, Louisiana, and Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And it's upsetting to hear after the fact that they didn't get NIST approval. And that means that the spigot isn't open. And that, to me, is very problematic. They should have never made that announcement. It's upsetting to me because we have people that are out there getting ready to deploy. You got warehouses full of fiber, conduit, tractors. You got families, companies, subcontractors, all prepared to, get out there and hit the road and start the drilling and boring and putting the fiber in. And now they're looking at it going, how long? What's
investors?
What's
investors doing right now? They're sweating.
They're sweating. I mean, because they don't know if these going to change the rules of the game. So it's just frustrating that happened. And I'm hoping that they can come back and fix this sooner rather than later, so that we can at least see this first group of projects start moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, let's get some wins.
If they want to slow down on the non-deployment and reevaluate that, fine. But they got the deployment. If they're comfortable with the deployment, just let it go. Let them, start
$5,300 a passing. Let these boys eat.
Hit pedal to the metal. Yahoo! Let's go.
Well, listen, we appreciate you being on. Phillip's actually a friend of mine. I call and pester him at least once every 2 weeks. Just pick his brain. I'm just super excited we got to see each other here at Metro Connect. Listen, you're gonna be on the show again here shortly. Hopefully.
Sure. But as an industry, we need to bring all the ISPs together. This doesn't happen independently. I sent out an email to Howard Lutnick and to Ariel Roth this past weekend because I'm like, this got to change. Spending money on an application that I know might be stale on the day I file it is just troubling to me. And we don't have money just growing on trees to refile applications and redo it again and again and again and just put our head in the sand. So we need more people to work here and bring these issues at least to Congress so that they know what's going on and that they do something about it. Whether they do a quick pause, recalibrate, and let us move forward, so that we're not just spinning our wheels just to spin our wheels for time's sake, and spend money and ridiculous amounts of money that
some people don't have.
I
mean, honestly.
Well, it just doesn't grow on trees. We're interested. We're excited about the program. We want to participate. But we have to file these applications, even though we know that the rules are going to change, which is frustrating. So
I get it. Well, man,
everybody's in that boat. That's unfortunately that's the situation. We need to invoke change. That's what we need to do.
And you heard that. We need to invoke change. So listen, on this podcast, we always put contact information. Please contact me or EPC or Talk Fiber to Me, baby. Get on the website and leave your comments. We'd love to include you on our coalition to get BEAD rolling and to actually get in touch with these peoples and the powers that be so that we can make change for either rural areas or just for the economic development of these areas. So until next time, I appreciate you, Phillip. Thank you for being here, buddy.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys. Welcome, everybody. We're here at, like we talked about earlier, we're here at Metro Connect in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'll get better at this as we go along. This is Francisco Maella. Did I say that right?
You're perfect.
He is CEO of Dobson Fiber. They're based out of Oklahoma. And I wanted to get him right here in front of us. That they're doing big things. They're out running paces. They're building more than they're asked to build. I mean, they're killing it. And so I just wanted to talk with somebody in the industry that's doing what they're supposed to do and what they promised they're going to do, and just asking some questions. Welcome, Francisco.
Glad to be here.
Thanks for being on the show with us.
Absolutely.
Listen, what has been the biggest challenge so far to building a network as large as what you have?
I always tell folks, this is a very simple product and a very simple thing that we're doing. But to do it at scale, it's very hard to do. And what happens in the life cycle of design all the way to construction, commissioning, and turning up customers and selling and so forth and so on, there's just a lot of people involved. It's a very people-intensive process, and it's a lot of it is not under your control. So the biggest challenge, frankly, think of it this way: it used to be supply chain, so we've gotten over that hurdle, but people finding the right talent. I mean, there's just demand for quality technical resources, workforce issues, permitting. So as we go into these communities that have been underserved for so many decades, you may only have one person that handles permits, and we're overwhelming that that permitting agency within that community. So permitting is a big challenge that we don't have a lot of control over. We have influence. And the third piece is the actual construction, right? Hiring folks like yourselves.
There we go.
That do what they said they're going to do, right? That meet the timelines, meet the schedules and so forth and so on. But once we get the system commission, I mean, the product is a great product, right? So we generally, we sell it, we have subscribers, but it's just a life cycle of design to completion. A lot of people, a lot of things are not controllable. You can influence, and it's hard. It really is. It's very hard to execute on.
We talk about a lot of things about, kind of like buy-in grace. And when I say buy-in grace, I mean, we talk about a lot of things like we're going to do this even though we don't have to. We're going to talk to these municipalities. We're going to talk to the locators and such, things to get out ahead so that your builds go smoother. What have you found? We were talking about before we came on air, we were talking about marketing. Have you found kind of one of your challenges is we need to get out there and start marketing so people know who we are so that, they're not surprised when we're there?
It's funny, so when we go to a community, right, we'll go to the chamber, we'll join the chamber, we'll go to City Hall, execute our franchise agreement, and so forth and so on. And, and we try to tell the community, okay, here's what's going to happen. We're going to break things, but we're going to fix them. Right?
Yeah.
We're going to
set expectations.
That's right. And so when we get the crews out there, all our crews have Dobson Fiber, even though we, use folks like yourselves on the truck. So they know who we are.
Yeah.
And sometimes, maybe even bad marketing is good marketing. Maybe, when you break something, they know it's Dobson Fiber, right?
But the fact that you fix it.
We fix it. Yeah. You come back, you fix it, you do the right thing. And, generally, after you're done, the community experiences the product. And, a neighbor says, oh, look, I just went with Dobson Fiber. Let me look at what the experience, right? Oh, well, I need to sign up too, right?
Yeah.
So
that's relational.
That's right.
Like, even though it's a product you're selling, they want it.
That's right.
Because they have never had anything as good as what you're bringing to them.
That's right.
And so you're influencing people's lives and livelihoods. Right. So they want it and they want to like you, but it's still relational. Like how well you talk.
Look, we're and I tell folks, it's like, what are we doing, right? So, well, think of it this way. We are effectively doing what happened in the 1920s and 30s in the electrification of the country, right? We're bringing the force utility that is critical to the economic development of these communities. These have been declining communities for many years.
Oh, yeah.
And broadband is just as critical as water, sewage, electricity, and natural gas. And so the fact that we're bringing in this utility that is critical, not just for economic growth, but also kids. I mean, there's the digital divide. It's known fact that where there's no good broadband options, kids don't do as well in school, right?
Man.
So we're bringing all that to these communities. So for me, it feels really good. I mean, we obviously shamelessly want to make money.
Shamelessly.
I mean, that's, we're incented to make money, but also we're bringing a benefit to the community that I think it has a positive socio-economic aspect to it. And that's very rewarding when you walk into a city meeting and they're like, my God, I'm glad you're here. Yeah. I'm glad you're going to invest in our community, right?
And you guys are investing directly. Like, you're not, a lot of what you're building is not propped up by federal funds or state funds. I mean, you guys are doing this yourselves.
That's correct. So most of our, we did get a little bit of ARPA, but call it 99% or 95% of what we're building is with at-risk capital.
Right.
So we are,
you're at risk. Literally. That's what
right.
it is.
It's all at-risk capital. We're not bringing in grants in any material way. We have some, but it's all at risk, right? We're putting our money where our mouth is.
Okay.
So we have to provide a reliable service. We have to provide a good service because we have to generate a return for our shareholders.
That's good.
So
That's good. Listen, we're really happy to be a part of that.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that you said is it's a lot like that back from the 20s and 30s, the electric. I have posters on my walls in my office of the electrification. You talked about workforce earlier. One of the things they did back in the electrification age is they built these big, like animated drawings of these big guys standing up, and they had a tool built on, and it was like, we need you to help electrify the U.S.
Right.
And you deal because you want to make a hero out of these guys, but
Right.
to some of these communities, they are heroes.
That's right.
Because they don't have, like you said, the opportunities for rural remote learning, or
Right.
or they don't have opportunities for telehealth or
Right.
global e-commerce. So you're literally changing landscapes,
That's right.
and y'all are doing it at risk capital.
Yeah, I mean, you have little mom and pop craft stores, that now they can reliably set up an e-commerce website
Yeah.
and be able to transact right across the world, right? So you're no longer bound by geography,
Okay.
right? The other interesting part is, we have at risk capital, right? And, I get employees that ask me, well, who do we work for? We work for a bunch of guys in Wall Street. I said, no, we work for, Icon Infrastructure, private equity. They have pension funds. And so there's a teacher somewhere downstream
That's making money off this long term.
That's right. That's getting a pension check,
That's right.
right? A pensioner. So we're working for that teacher, or we're working for that railroad worker, right? So not only we bring in a benefit to the community, but the return that we generate goes to pay for these retirees.
That's a
right?
great way
So-
for a noble cause.
So that's what we
Right.
work for. We take this money through our private equity partners, right, and banks, and then we invest it, and that return comes back, and that's how we're able to, these folks get their, their pension check every month, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
So
Well, before we let you go, what's the next big thing for Dobson Fiber? Are you guys just going to continue to build?
Yeah.
What's the track look like for you guys?
we have a pretty aggressive build out plan, and we're going to be building for the next 3 to 4 years. So if you look at our network and you look at our middle mile network, every community on that middle mile network will have Dobson Fiber, across pretty much the entire state of Oklahoma.
Very cool, man. Well, listen, Francisco, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you being on the show with us, and listen, I hope to see you around here. We'll be catching up soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Welcome back to another episode or another edition of Talk Fiber to Me, baby. I'm Josh Etheridge. I'm here with Rob Hanson. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
We're at Metro Connect. Ran into Rob. He's with Vitruvi, and we're going to talk a little bit about what Rob has and what Vitruvi is. But when I saw him here, I was like, dude, you got to get on here, because honestly, what you guys have is something special, and I think that the entire industry would want to know what it is. So why don't you tell me, what is Vitruvi?
Yeah, we want the whole industry to know about Vitruvi as well. So Vitruvi is a construction management data platform. We want to be agnostic. We want to make sure that the data coming in from the field is the highest quality possible, the easiest to capture possible, and making sure that the data is available for you in all of the areas you need to run your business.
What we've done up until this point is paper reporting, right? Like, so everybody turned in a production report at the end of the day, and they're like, this is what I did today.
Yep.
We had no insight. Now, I'm a construction company, right? So EPC is a construction company. We use Vitruvi. But we were doing paper reporting. We were there. We tried doing it on our own. We realized we're not smart enough. We called you guys up. Actually, we did a couple more that was really task-based.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys came in and you were like, hey, we're GIS-based. What does that mean to an ISP? Why would they rather have a GIS-based reporting software than they would, say, just a task-based? Did I do it? Yes, check the box.
Really, it's around that really good data. We want to make sure the data is robust. We want to make sure the data is geospatial. We want to make sure the data is there so that when later on, if something goes wrong, you can go back and look at the data in the office without having to go back out to the field and do another truck roll.
Yeah.
So,
because it's expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having a disgruntled landowner say that you've tore up their driveway, well, now you'll have pictures or even a movie captured so that you can go, well, actually, we did it.
And you tag those to an actual geospatial spot, right? So it's like what happened right here?
We can tell you where the photo was taken, what time it was taken. You can see it there forever. We can capture all of the evidence needed so that you can get paid faster. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
And the paper process you were always a week at least to 2 or 3 weeks behind in processing those, and you never knew if you had everything. Someone might have been lost. Someone spilt their drink on there. So now we do it all in real time. We capture it in the moment, and we make sure that that's as easy as possible.
Very cool. I know. So we use iPads.
Yep.
All of our construction managers, they have iPads out there. Our QC guys they're doing iPads, and our customers actually can see what's happening as it happens. So you talked about real time.
Yeah.
What do you think made this come about? Do you think there was ISPs like out there and they were like, there's got to be a better way? Is that how it came about, or like what did you see in the industry that made y'all get into it?
So Vitruvi was founded by people who built networks for a living.
Yeah.
They lived the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem there is that as you scale your construction operations, they found that the back office had to scale linearly as well. And so
You're talking about hiring people.
Yeah.
More people.
So you couldn't get the efficiencies of scale there. You couldn't get leverage on that. So really we wanted to automate as much as possible. And so again, going back to that real-time nature and the data inputs coming in, if it's paper, you need someone to process it. If every time someone has to move a data from one system, paper, to another system, Excel, to another system, email even, every time there's a chance of error and more manual effort. So
100%. I actually remember walking in to one of our project managers' deals, and I was like, man, I don't know much, but I feel like that number's wrong. And so, because it was so manual, and luckily we found like $30,000 on that project. I mean, not that I'm that smart, but I was looking at it and I was like, that doesn't look right. And this kind of alleviates that, doesn't it? And like you enter it in before you start the project. And then as the project goes through, you're plotting it out, and it's like, there it is. And you can just turn it right into billing from there.
Yeah. And the beauty of it too is because you can't double bill, because we make sure that we capture the data, we mark what was done, and then you go on to the next segment. And so you only bill once. You don't have to do a reconciliation because everyone's looking at the same data. So we speed up things there as well. And then we make sure that, we capture all that data directly from the field.
Do you think you essentially got rid of the old school Excel spreadsheet bore logs? Do y'all remember bore logs?
We'll never get rid of Excel.
Yeah.
But we're hoping that we can alleviate it a little bit.
Yeah.
We still integrate with Excel. You can, if you love Excel for your reporting, you can pull data out of Vitruvi automatically into Excel. But we want to make it as easy as possible. One thing we always hear from customers when they're starting up is like, I don't think my contractors or my crews can actually handle this.
Yeah.
And so one of the core tenets at Vitruvi is to make it as easy as possible. And so right now we're working on different systems and, the ability to auto approve photos to say like, that's a handhole or that's a manhole, or, using all of the billions of dollars that are being put into computer vision and AI these days to actually do a lot of automation to even improve things even more.
Jeez, man. You talked about how easy is it to use. I want to be honest with you. If I can use it, I mean, man, like anybody can hear from my voice. I'm from the South, and I'm just like a hillbilly that somehow ended up with a drilling company. But y'all have really came in. We took y'all's product and started putting it in. I think we've been actually utilizing it for maybe 2 to 3 months now.
Yep.
I've got nothing but good reports, and I speaking of reporting, I love looking at reports. And so now I don't have to do as many like, how is this project going? How is this project going? I can see it all, and so can my customers.
Yeah.
So pretty excited about it, man. I really appreciate you being with us today. I don't know, like I said, I didn't want this opportunity to go to waste, that Rob could be on here to tell y'all about Vitruvi. It's a great partnership that we have with y'all, and I hope that other people are seeing this podcast and they're going like, I want to get on that. And so it honestly, if my customers would all start requesting it, I'd like that too. So anyway, Thanks for being with us, Rob. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.